to the Equine Business Assistant podcast, the podcast for equestrian entrepreneurs who are ready to harness their genius and grow their business. With me, Jenny Bush, also known as the Equine Business Assistant. And today is episode 14 and I have a special guest for you and it's a real treat. Now, you may have seen her in many national publications, worldwide publications, on the news, but Melody, aka the Horse Barber, joined me to discuss her business and how she got started and just share some key insights and tips. She's working to improve horse welfare and education worldwide through her traditional and creative clipping. And through this approach, she actually did rock the boat a bit, but she talks about how that actually helped her skyrocket her business. So she's received recognition for her unique artistic approach for clipping horses, and she's the first UK horse clipping educator. So she brings professionalism and education to the equestrian clipping industry, working to raise the bar and create higher standards of horse clipping. Now, she created the Horse Barber service as a concept in 2012, and she's progressed in her horse clipping journey. And so today she's going to talk a little bit about the challenges that she's faced and what she's got lined up. So stay tuned to hear more. And as always, thank you for joining me today. Please do hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And I'd love it if you'd leave a review. It makes my day. Are you ready? Let's dive in. So welcome to the Equine Business Assistant podcast. Really glad to have you here. So tell me a little bit, tell the listeners, if they've never come across your work, Melody, a little bit more about you and what you do.
Okay, so my name's Melody Hames. I'm based in the northwest of England. I am known as a horse barber, so I have business in clipping horses and shaving horses. I've expanded that from traditional clipping to creative clipping, which has taken me nationally and internationally.
Wow. And so how did this all sort of come about? Did you just sort of start helping people with their horses and their clipping, or what really got you into it?
So it's a question that people often ask now. How this actually started was alongside uni, because when I was 9 years old, I had a Connemara pony that I would clip regularly, and I did a lot of clipping as he got older and for quite a number of years. And then when I was in uni, one of my friends asked if I'd clip her horse for her. So I clipped her horse for her, and then her friend asked, so I clipped her horse for her. And then somebody suggested that I set up a business. And I remember thinking, no, why would anybody get me to clip the horse? They just do it themselves. But then I realised that actually a lot of people don't like it. For them, it's a problem. So the Horse Barber has evolved as a solution to the problem for people that have the need to clip their horses and that don't know how to do it or don't want to do it. Luckily, I'm very, very passionate about it. So it kind of goes hand in hand and it's evolved from there, really. So that's how it began alongside uni, and then it's gone from strength to strength.
And how do you find it? Because like clipping is quite a seasonal thing for many horse owners. Does that affect your business? How do you work around that?
Absolutely. So between like September and April is our busy season, obviously over in England. Different countries also vary at different times of the year. For the past 2 years, I have gone out over to America for a number of weeks and come back into England. So what I do is in the summertime, when the main bulk of the clipping does drop down, I'll go into show prep and trimming up then. So there's always a lot to do with that over the summer because of the vast amount of showing. It's also changed the past couple of years when it comes to clipping, because a lot of people would say, oh no, it's incorrect to clip in summertime, but actually that's a misconception. It's an old belief that has now changed. We've got a lot of cobs that are your traditional cobs as well with big thick coats that actually benefit from being clipped. So the past 2 years especially, I would say there's been a huge rise of people clipping for weather, the warm weather. Especially last year we had an exceptionally warm summer, so people are realizing now that they're catering more for the horse that's in front of them in the weather that's in front of them, if that makes sense, rather than sticking to one rule and not clipping. So the rise of clipping all year round is definitely improved somewhat. So yeah, it's getting busier each year.
Yeah, I must admit, my pony I've had to clip all summer because yeah, she's a cob, and it just, yeah, she just can't cope with the heat and she gets so sweaty, and
Yeah.
yeah, for our own
And
benefit.
that's it. Yeah, and that's it. See, there has been that misconception really that it's incorrect to clip, say, after February, but what is really, really important to put across is the fact that each horse is an individual. We often clip for remedial as well, so like Cushing's, sweet itch over in the summer is rife, so clipping can help. So yeah, the industry is changing, has changed, and it's acceptable. It's much more acceptable to and encouraged really to clip if you're getting hot, clipping, you know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of sort of outdated methods, and when it comes to horse care, that we're learning all the time, and it's just constantly sort of updating and evolving. You say with clipping or with worming or whatever, it's a learning curve for all of us, isn't it? So, what do you think is what has been the most challenging thing about your business?
Gosh, there is many aspects of it. I think when I first began the creative side, I know that I was met with quite a lot of resistance. That was like back in 2015. So it's come a long way since then. But way before I even started thinking about the creative side, there was the from traditional clipping, because every horse is so different and there's always so much to learn. You can have clipped a handful of horses and think you know what you're doing until you get out there and you realize actually you didn't know what you were doing, but each horse will teach you. So I think it's really important to well, I know that the hurdle for me was learning to adapt to the horse that was stood in front of me and realizing that actually I didn't know as much about horses as I thought, and keeping an open mind is very important in that sense. So physically as well, you have to be quite fit and physically quite fit. And I remember early on in the early days my arms would ache, and so I'd have to think, you know, I need to just take my time. And it's problem solving along the way really. There's always hurdles all along the way. It never stops, and it's a case of sort of like mentally getting your mind around that and keeping you cool really as well. So yeah, loads of different factors come into it.
Yeah, but I think part of that challenge, you say, like with the controversy of bringing in sort of the creative clipping and making it a bit more of an art form, that has actually been one of your main successful things that's helped you to skyrocket the business and to get more sort of coverage and PR and exposure. So how do you see that now when you think about it?
Absolutely. So I think I consider the creative clipping aspect of my business very much a add-on extra, so to speak. It is not the core of the business, although it's skyrocketed my business to another level, and that's basically, you know, how I ended up going out to America with the Andy's team. But what really the core and foundation of the Horse Barber brand is offering a service that is sympathetic and understanding, knowledgeable and experienced for clipping horses for everyday horse owners that may want to learn. So I'll provide education for them, but also I'm providing a service where a horse might be really nervous, so we'll work to build that horse back up and bring it off sedation or rehabilitate that horse to general clipping. So that is the core of the business, and I really believe that, because I know a lot of people see me as a creative clipper, and often I've heard people say, well, I didn't think you'd do traditional clipping, I thought you just did creative. And that's definitely a misconception that I would like to squash, because definitely the traditional aspects is so important. So the creative has been amazing, and it's definitely helped propel us forward, but the core of the business is definitely the traditional, the training, the groundwork really, I suppose, if you will. It's the groundwork of the business.
So, like, if you were, so you're doing a lot of sort of educating and trying to help people to learn how to clip better as well. I see that's coming quite a core part of the Horse Barber and where you're going forward with your business. So, what advice would you give for somebody that's looking to start out in business, even in the equine industry in general? Because a lot of people feel that it's one of those industries where you cannot earn a decent amount of money, and you know it's one of those, again, misconceptions in the industry that horses are expensive, you can't live off horses.
It's very tough. I totally agree with that. It is very tough. What I will say is this: if you have the horse, there's a few different factors that come into it, but what sticks out in my mind when you question is the first and foremost is if the core of what you are doing is for the benefit of the horse, it absolutely has to be something that benefits the horse before yourself. So if you can provide a service that is benefiting that horse and rider as a combination, but specifically the horse, you've got a good leg to stand on. If what you're doing is not based around the wealth and the well-being, the progression of the horse and listening to the horse, you haven't got a leg to stand on. Now, whatever direction that takes you in is going to be tailored to your passion, your drive, what makes you tick. If you can tap into that, then you will take it all the way. For example, like with my clipping, I absolutely love it. Most people hate it, but I get a huge job satisfaction out of like clipping a horse that was in dire need of clipping, or a horse that was previously unclippable, and they needed me to help them overcome that with the horse. So that's my job satisfaction. So I'm driven by that. And then the next phase was the creative side, and I'm very passionate about art and design. So that was another platform that progressed itself. So what I would say is follow what makes you tick, and you will never run out of fuel, if that makes sense. That's core. If you're doing something that you're not necessarily enjoying, you're going to be swimming upstream constantly. It's going to be a struggle, and you're not going to make anything easier for yourself. What I will say is this: yes, it's hard, but you have to overcome those challenges and the hard part before you get the success. It's not, you don't get success without overcoming that struggle. So nothing is impossible when you set your mind to it. That's what I would put across to people. Yes, it's hard, but you can do anything that you set your mind to. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's like so true.
Yeah, no, it's one of the sort of key messages that I like to get across to people is that, yeah, if you've got that passion and you've got that drive, nothing on this world can stop you. You can achieve it. And yes, it's not going to be easy. There's not always money, but a lot of that is about mindset issues, isn't it? Which is a key thing when you're sort of getting your business up and running, is to make sure that your head's in the right space.
Absolutely. And for those that decide that they don't want to carry on, well, that's done them a favour, because it's weeded you out from what you didn't. You might have not taken the path that you thought you wanted. We end up on the path that you do want going forward from there. It's all part of the process. So the failure is not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe it's just redirection. That's like really, really key point that I would like to get across as well.
No, I think that's it. With all businesses, you start somewhere and you end up somewhere else, and sometimes you can feel that it's got to go down this path that you decided at the beginning, but I think it's just constantly like evolution, isn't it? And you will find things that you don't like, and so on. And so it's not being afraid of that.
I think if you can connect with people as well, I think inspiring and doing something from like the heart and with the best intention and from your pure intention and from within, people are always going to connect with it. So you might see some people will change every 6 months what their marketing or their line of business, or they'll go down different areas. They're doing it purely for the money, whereas when you do something that connects with people are then drawn to you, and they take inspiration from you, and that is, you can't match that. You can't pay for that. You can't buy it. You can't match it. So again, I think that's a biggie.
Yeah. So coming up for what's coming up for the Horse Barber now? What's your next sort of steps and plans? What have you got mapped out?
Okay, so we've got Horse of the Year show coming up in October. So I will be demonstrating in the live zone. It's going to be interactive demonstrations in the live zone on Friday and Saturday of Hoy's week at 3 p.m. So I'm going to be delivering like a talk, and it's going to be inspirational meets educational. So as well as educational aspects of horse clipping, I'm not just going to be focusing on that. I'm going to be focusing on a bit of what we're talking about today, the inspirational side of equestrian business. It's actually tips and truths. So we're going to be talking about tips, but there's also going to be a few truths about it. So if you're at Hoy's that week, please pop by and say hello at 3 o'clock. I am actually top secret, but I'll announce it with you. I'm going to be doing for demo attendees the opportunity as a thank you to give back for their time. I've got the opportunity to win a Fairfax and Favour £50 voucher for anybody that attends the demo. It's only going to be for people in the live zone demo. So you have a good chance of winning, guys. So that's just a little thank you to put back to everybody that takes time out of the day to visit the Horse Barber. So that is like at the first front foremost of my mind at the moment. And then coming up from sort of September to February time, I look at doing a major creative clip. So each year I do a big project. So last year, some people who saw or went to Your Horse Live might remember the Great War Horse. So we exhibited him in November.
Yeah, awesome. So you've got lots and lots planned, and yeah, so it just sounds like you're going from strength to strength in your business, and it's so lovely to see. And even then, like my husband even pulled out. I remember you were featured in I think it might have been the Daily Mail or something, and he even spotted it and had to show me, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know, Melanie. I mean, what advice would you give to people to be able to take their business and sort of get that sort of coverage that makes that
Totally understand. So it makes me like so happy to hear that kind of story, you know, when you tell me about your husband seeing it, and everywhere that I go, people will bring it up, and it's nice because it gives me a little bit of a boost, because there are times when things are difficult. I mean, 7 weeks ago I actually broke my arm in a non-clipping horse related accident. I wasn't working it, and so I am actually building myself back up from that. So it's absolutely terrible. I broke my arm, absolutely terrible. But do you know what? These things happen, and it's about keeping that mindset when you're faced with challenges. So easier said than done, don't get me wrong, but I think the people around you have a huge part to play in your mindset as well. So these are all things to consider. So self-care as well, well-being, I think, eating healthy, drinking a lot of water, just simple things like this. But I think it all counts to the bigger picture. You need to look after number one and put fuel in the engine before you can think about working. So first and foremost, I would say, yeah, look after yourself, take time out for yourself, maybe a little bit of meditation. I'm a huge fan of meditation, actually. I've actually not been doing that long, so I'd say probably the past 12 months, and the business is 6 years old, so it didn't have a huge part to play for a long time. But for me to step up a gear, I needed to regroup and be still for a little while. So yeah, I would just say to people, don't be harsh on yourself. If you feel like you've made a mistake, let it go, take the lessons from it, but don't feel like, you know, it's the end of the road. You are going to be met with challenges. So to the people that are wondering how they can best, you know, move forward and step it up a gear, is don't worry about the problems. The problems are going to come. It's going to toughen you up in the long run. So I think that's very, very important.
Yes, I must say, I totally agree with that. I must remember when I first started my business, and I was doing sort of virtual assistant work and web design and what have you, and I was working for a client, and it just all went totally wrong, and I wanted to just run and hide, and I remember thinking, this is horrendous. And luckily enough, she was a mindset coach, and she just sort of got me, and she went, Jenny, this is business. This happens. This is what you need to expect. It's going to go wrong. It's fine. Yeah. I don't think that any worse of you. And I think for so long we sort of educate ourselves to be people pleasers, to want to please our customers, but sometimes we've got to take the rough with the smooth and know that it's not always going to be perfect plain sailing, and we're not going to be able to deliver what we hope to all the time, and to learn from it totally.
Oh, 100%. Like, you know, like you say, we're people pleasers, and we have got those soft natures, and we want to help a lot of people, and there's going to be times when we feel like we've failed them and we've failed ourselves. But imagine being that person that, you know, that came to you that day, and those people that leave a good impression and guide us when we most need it are remembered for a lifetime. And I think if you can offer that to somebody when they most need it, I think that's quite priceless, and it makes an impact, and that impact cannot be measured against anything else. So I think if your business incorporates that, then you're always going to reach people, and people are always going to connect with you.
Yeah,
And that kind of stuff.
it's hard, yeah, because there's going to be times when we let ourselves down, or we feel that we let others down. But it's about doing what we can where we're at right now, isn't it? And not taking it personally.
Yeah.
Just saying, right, I need to.
Yeah, you can't pour from an empty glass. You have to refill, recharge, and then you can give your best to the next person along.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, totally. So, what would you like to leave the listeners with? Any wisdom, tips, or advice, if they're, or like, and of course, come see you at Hoy's, of course. Anything else?
Yeah. Please do come by and say hello at Hoy's. I'll be giving out information so that anybody that wants to learn more about horse clipping, or sign up to training, or for even the email hints and tips, come and give me your email. I will get that over to you and sent out. Or you can go on the horsebarber.com and register for any training opportunities that are going to be coming up. For anybody that's serious about learning about horses, it's not just going to be about horse clipping. It's going to be like horse care and horse management, and also like horsemanship skills from the ground. So it all counts. So for anybody that does want to pursue horse clipping further, please get on board with me, and I'm more than happy to offer my training online for you. Also, have fun, enjoy it, just have loads and loads and loads of fun. Don't worry about anything too much, and yeah, enjoy yourself.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for joining me. And I hope this has been a nice experience for you, and I know you've given loads of value to the listeners, so they'll really, really appreciate that. So yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me, Jenny.
Thank you. So I hope you really enjoyed this episode. Thank you, Melody, so much for joining me. And if you got value from this, please do hit the subscribe so that we can make sure that you don't miss an episode. And as always, I'd love to know what you thought. So please do send me an email. Let me know if you enjoyed this, or if you've got any ideas for topics or anything we could cover, to jenny@theequinebusinessassistant.co.uk. And I look forward to hearing from you. For now, have a great week. See you later. Bye.